your morning dose of coffee and sports. This is the Morning Drive Podcast from Double T 97.3. Catch the show live weekdays from 6 to 9 on Double T 97.3 FM or on the Double T 97.3 mobile app.
Jeff had heard enough of me, so that's all right. A couple hours from now, we'll make predictions with upon further review. I'm just glad that you don't have a button over there that says eject, and that we would go through the roof and out onto the streets of Lubbock.
Oh, no, I'm just used to you getting one of This Day in Sports History is next. That's when we wrap up, and that's what I was listening for.
You were like, he's done.
Yeah, we were done.
Enough of him.
We get,
don't you think the lucky lady would love to have one of those buttons?
Oh, yeah. There's no question about that. Mm-hmm. She would love to have a button that just...
I think Miss
eject.
Yeah, I think Mrs. Lent would probably want the eject button if the opposite of you. Like, I wasn't talking enough. She was sick of me just sitting there saying nothing.
The cattle prod in the back, making sure you're awake.
See, sometimes
not competent. You know, my wife is actually a decently quiet person too. She's not super, doesn't have a big personality or anything like that. Not super outgoing. More outgoing than I am, okay? Definitely way friendlier than I am. Politer, all the above. Mm-hmm. But I tell you what, she becomes a chatterbox at one time of the day.
Like 7:30 at night?
No, it's when she gets into bed and I'm trying to sleep.
Oh, really?
And then she wants to show me everything she finds on her phone. I mean, like every bit of information on Facebook and all that. Oh, goodness. I mean, she then, oh, hey, let's chit chat.
Let's download. Let's get your daily download there.
Did you know this?
Did you know this?
This happened at work today.
Oh, my.
What are you doing with the girls tomorrow? And blah. Yeah. I mean, that's the time.
Wow. I don't think I could handle that. In fact, I know I couldn't handle that.
That's the time.
I think I would shut that down.
Well, and being the
polite person that you are,
being the non-open book that I am, I feel like it's the right thing for me to do. I mean, she's trying to engage in conversation with me. I should engage back.
Right.
So I politely do. That's only fair, right? Like a husband should do that to his wife.
Sure.
But I am sitting there going, oh man, like right now. Not like I'm sitting there also with my phone in my hand, but like I'm laying on my side with the lights off and the TV off and my eyes closed.
Your eyes closed. You're not paying any attention.
Well,
goodness. All right. So one curious thing that I guess I'm blown away sometimes by things, but this blew me away a little bit last night, that Alan Bowman is in the transfer portal. I mean, it's like, what possibly are you thinking? You're in the college football playoff. You probably haven't had the football career that you thought you were going to have, whether it was here, and I don't think he went to Michigan thinking he was going to be the starting quarterback. Surely not. Surely he had a little bit more sense about him. But and they've already got a guy in the transfer portal. Not that he was going to, but he potentially, if J.J. McCarthy went down in the semifinal or the national championship game, he potentially could have been a guy that would have gone in there, especially if he knew the offense and could kind of keep things, in between the lines, so to speak. But now he's in the transfer portal. And I guess that means he doesn't go to the college football playoffs and is not part of the national championship game should Michigan beat TCU. It seems very odd and very crazy to me.
My guess is that Bowman is saying in this situation, hey, I got 1 year of college football left. I actually want to play. Okay, so I'm going to go somewhere. I've got to enter the portal to be able to make those contacts. Mm-hmm. To let people know I'm available. And he's expecting to go down to a lower level, not the Michigan level, right? I'm not saying out of D1, right. But...
Non-Power 5.
Non-Power 5. That would be my expectation. And I don't know why I'm sitting here making an excuse for him, but I feel like he's kind of between a rock and a hard place, right? Because he probably would want to be with his Michigan teammates and play in that game. But if he has to enter his name so he can claim one of those spots elsewhere, and if he legally is not supposed to be making contact with those people or whatever, I mean, maybe, he and Jim Harbaugh sat down and he's like, Coach, I want to play somewhere next year. And and Harbaugh said, man, just go. We're good. Surely there's another quarterback on that roster.
There is another quarterback on that roster.
Okay.
It's just, I guess I look at it from, and
he still will get a ring if they win it.
I know what you miss all the,
I totally get it.
You miss all the experience. And my thought would be, okay, if even all that you've just said, don't you think in a month that there's going to be a school in a lower level that's going to need a quarterback that might potentially want him?
I don't know, but he wouldn't have his pick of, maybe now there's 7 schools that he gets to choose from at that level. And so he doesn't want to be stuck taking the worst one, the only one that's left.
Yeah.
I mean, I may be completely off on that, but I mean, why else would he do it right now? Because you're making sense. Like, go through the process of going to play, in the college football playoff and be with your teammates and get one of those really cool white sweatsuits that those guys get.
Sure.
and have a great time, right?
Yeah.
And you never know, you might get into a game.
I mean, when he's 40 years old, he'll be at some cocktail party, Christmas party, and they're like, hey, didn't you play on that Michigan national championship team? Yeah, I sure did. Man, let me tell you a couple stories from that team.
Has he played at all this year?
A little bit, yeah, a little bit. But I don't know. It just seems short-sighted to me.
Well, but again, is going through that experience and standing over there with your hat on backwards and a clipboard in your hand, is that better than getting to start 12 games next year at a place you want to be at? I mean, short-sighted is only worrying about the next 2 weeks and not thinking about an entire year next year.
I just feel like the entire next year would be there for him.
Again, but maybe not at the place he wants it to be. I'm just trying to think through his mind.
No.
But I agree. I mean, your point about, man, you get to go do all that. That would be something that you'll remember forever.
You're a Michigan man. Yeah, all that stuff. But what do I know? I mean, I've only worked at the same place for 25 years. So, I mean, there have been times early on in my life when I, was here and there for, a couple of years, 3 years. So I get it. When you're young, you've got these opportunities. You've got to jump when you can. I just hope it's not one that he regrets 20 years from now. I hope it works out for him.
Yeah. He's a big boy. He can make his own decisions.
That's exactly right. You're exactly right.
You're tuned in to the Morning Drive podcast from Double T 97.3, recapping the night that was in the world of sports.
That's not to say that they don't respect the run game that you have, but you're talking about one quarterback leading the conference in passing so far this year. And remember, he didn't start the first game.
All right.
Still played a lot, though.
And also bringing some humor to your day.
I just don't want to disappoint you. As much as I disappoint you, I don't want to disappoint you in some things that you expect from me.
Hear the show live weekday mornings at 6 on Double T 97.3 or on the Double T 97.3 mobile app.
Time for this day in sports history. Today is December the 16th, the last full shopping weekend for those of you that need to still do some shopping, if you know what I mean. You have next Saturday.
It's not the full weekend.
It's not the full weekend, but if you're scrambling on Christmas Eve, then, which I have done before, it's not necessarily pleasant. You need to be able to relax and enjoy as much of a pressure-free during the day Christmas Eve as you can, so that you can do all your traditional things that you like to do Christmas afternoon, Christmas Eve afternoon, or Christmas Eve. Here's Jeff McGuire.
You're going to start in 1918, because when you go to a boxing match, you're planning an evening, right? I mean, normally you show up and you figure you'll be there for at least an hour.
I've been to one boxing match in my life. 2. I've been to two.
Well, I hope it was longer than the Jack Dempsey took to KO Carl Morris.
Was it like seconds?
14 seconds. Imagine the post-game show on that one. 1929, Chicago Blackhawks' first game at Chicago Stadium. They beat the Pittsburgh Pirates 3-1. 1945, the National Football League Championship took place in Cleveland Stadium. The Cleveland Rams beat the Washington Redskins 15-14. It was the last game before the Rams moved west to Los Angeles.
Okay. We had the Chicago Redskins playing the other day.
1972, the Miami Dolphins become the first undefeated NFL team in the regular season.
We're still hearing about it.
A year later, O.J. Simpson became the first NFL running back to rush for 2,000 yards in a single season.
He did it in 14 games, too.
It's impressive.
1979. Dallas Cowboy quarterback Roger Staubach throws 3 touchdown passes and 336 yards in his last NFL regular season game with the Cowboys. It was a 35-34 win over Washington at Texas Stadium. Could not have been more fitting for his last game at home. And in 2019, Drew Brees breaks Peyton Manning's NFL record of 539 for a career touchdown passes as the New Orleans Saints rout the Indianapolis Colts 34-7. Brees was 29 of 30 for 307 yards, 4 touchdowns with a 96.7 completion percentage. Insane. If you can't get behind today's food, I don't even want to know you. Unless you're allergic, but even then, we can find a way around it.
Okay.
It is National Chocolate Covered Anything Day. If you're allergic to chocolate, we can try to find something around it. Mm-hmm. But otherwise...
Nuts and raisins would be high on my list. Chocolate-covered things.
Nougat, more chocolate.
Nougat.
I mean, the whole list of things.
Your whole discussion of niche and niche and whatnot has been somewhat fascinating on the bottom
Somewhat
line.
Annoying.
Yeah.
Happy birthday to Benjamin Bratt, who is 59.
Law and Order.
Billy Ripken is 58.
Cal's brother.
Greatest baseball card ever. And William the Refrigerator Perry is 61.
Wow. He made it.
He did. He did make it. Look at him. And on this day in 1773, in Boston Harbor, a group of Massachusetts colonists disguised as Mohawk Indians board 3 British tea ships and dump 342 cases of tea into the harbor in response to the Tea Act of 1773. The 3 ships, the Dartmouth, the Eleanor, and the Beaver, arrived in Boston Harbor. The colonists demanded that the tea be returned to England. After Massachusetts Governor Thomas Hutchinson refused, Patriot leader Samuel Adams organized the Tea Party with about 60 members from the Sons of Liberty. His underground resistance group, the British tea dumped in the Boston Harbor on that night on December 16th, was valued at some $18,000 at the time. Good thing you guys are sitting down, because it would be $623,116 worth of tea.
Wow.
Today. And that is this day in sports history.
They'd find themselves in the Who's Cow today if they did something like that.
They'd be lucky the Federales wouldn't be coming after them. They would be in so much trouble.
There you go. There you go. Our friend Sonia from Runaway Bay, she says, "Good morning, gentlemen," from Runaway Bay with 2 commas and an exclamation point. Wow. We have big plans this weekend. Our oldest baby girl, GSD, will turn 11 on Sunday, so happy birthday to her. So we are grilling salmon, sweet potatoes, and green beans while we cheer on the Chiefs, of course. Man, I got to tell you, there's really nothing there for me. Maybe the green beans.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Not a salmon guy?
No, I'm not. Mm-hmm. I am not.
I'll take Chuck's share.
You'll take my share. All right. Yates Flooring Center chat line is open. Somebody says Alan Bowman has 2 degrees and he can still travel with the team. Okay. I hope that's the case. I hope he still gets to do that and be a part of it. And here's the deal. I mean, I would think if you're Michigan and you got a quarterback room and you've got, a guy like him in it, I mean, if he's able to play, wouldn't you want somebody to be able to back up your quarterback?
Yeah, I mean, sure.
They got a guy.
All hands on deck.
All hands on deck, right? Just seems like this is the kind of distraction that you wouldn't want to have.
No, if this texter is suggesting that he is able to travel with the team, I'm sure that.
Yeah.
Does that mean he can play with the team?
That's a great question. I don't know the. There's no easy. There's no easy book on the transfer portal of who's in, who's out. You know, can you play? Can you not? Once you're in, is it like are you a persona non grata? It probably depends with every team and every situation. It's probably very, very gray.
Maybe.
So, somebody wants to know if I'm going into the transfer portal to see if I get picked up by Tech Talk. No, because they wouldn't pick me up. They got two more than very capable people, in addition to Clint, Aaron Dickens, and Mike Gustafson. They certainly don't need my help. They would scoff at that. Plus, I don't want to leave Jamie and Jeff.
Yeah, man, we couldn't have that.
No,
You're listening to the Morning Drive podcast from Lubbock Sports Station, Double T 97.3, recapping the night that was in the world of sports.
A little bit later on tonight, we'll have the Astros and the Diamondbacks. That'll be at 8. And then the Rangers playing at Seattle tonight.
And also bringing some humor to your day.
Was it pretty big?
Yeah, I mean,
it's impressive.
Yeah.
Was it fascinating?
I thought it was fascinating. It kind of smelled, but I mean.
Hear the show live weekday mornings at 6 on Double T 97.3 or on the Double T 97.3 mobile app.
Thank you for being with us. Man, it's been a rough week. Gosh. Oh, goodness. I mean, it's crazy when you kind of think about just everything that's transpired this week. You've got the whole Mike Leach situation, which, God, it's just awful. Guy's apparently on his couch, has a heart attack. Nobody's around him. Doesn't have any oxygen for 10 to 15 minutes and is brain dead and now dead at 61. You have a basketball coach who's at his dream job, despite everything that he did here, and despite his leaving here and all those things, who basically has thrown away his career over a terrible incident that we don't know all the details on, but at the end of the day, certainly doesn't look very good at all, and probably now trying to avoid jail time and negotiate some kind of settlement with his job to exit that so he can rebuild his life. And that transgression is going to affect the lives of everybody there.
Yeah, I think right now he's still trying to keep his job.
Yeah. Well, I don't see how he's going to keep his job.
I don't either, but you hear more and more reports that it's possible. That's crazy talk to me, but... And,
depending on,
Is it crazy to you that the AD is not made...
Yeah, not made a comment.
Nothing at all, man. Just go run and hide.
Yeah, no comment at all from Chris Del Conte. Other than they had the suspension, but I mean that was a no-brainer, right?
Yeah.
I mean that's a no-brainer when you're head basketball coach of your second or maybe your second most profile sport. It doesn't really matter. It could have been the tennis coach, could have been the swim coach, whatever.
Oh, if he was a tennis coach, he'd have been gone.
Yeah, he'd have been gone
30 minutes after it happened.
Sure. Anyway, the bottom line
Nobody likes tennis people anyway, so.
The bottom line is, it's shocking that there hasn't been any comment there. And then you got our situation here with, people not happy with how things are going, and I get it. And Fardaws Aimaq, supposedly in the transfer portal, then now you hear that he's not, and he's still on the roster, and who knows when he's going to play next. And he accuses, or is alleged to have accused to a reporter, that they were trying to rush him back too quick, and that's why he didn't leave. What was it? Was it money, or was it leverage, or what the hell was it? I mean, God, it's just crazy. And this has all happened since Sunday, and then you have behind the scenes stuff of the private life of your basketball coach that gets shed out there in public, and I guess I look at it at the end of the day, that's his business, And that's
it is his business. If it's true, it's not very becoming.
no.
Yeah.
And
I mean, we all have skeletons,
we all have skeletons, right?
but I mean, he's got out of the closet,
Yeah. And
it's. I mean, like I said, it's not a good look.
has it affected the performance of his basketball team? Has it affected the performance of his coaches? Has it affected
According to some, it has.
Yeah.
According to some, it has.
So-
I mean, it would be hard for anybody who's not inside the program to have that knowledge of that, right? Unless you're really there,
Yeah.
or unless somebody from inside the program is giving you information.
But at the end of the day, if you had played better against, let's say you'd beaten Creighton and you'd beaten Ohio State and you'd played better against Nichols or Eastern Washington, would any of this have come out? Probably not. Oh, but goodness gracious. It's not a good look. It's not the best of looks, but like Jamie said, everybody's got skeletons. It's just when it comes out and starts to affect things, that's when you have to address it and try to fix it as best you can. And who knows? Maybe they have. Who knows? Maybe all this stuff about only one guy being allowed to be coaching and things like that. Maybe that's all a bunch of bunk too. I mean, if you believed everything that you heard and saw out there. Some even believe that there's going to be a press conference before the end of the year to announce a new basketball coach, which is, it's all crazy talk. It's just absolute crazy talk.
Well, I mean, I feel like, and I could be reading you wrong here, but it feels like you're saying there's, you're always a where there's smoke, there's fire guy.
Yeah. No.
Right? Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of smoke.
There is a lot of smoke.
Some of this stuff.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, the personal life stuff. I mean, and how it's affecting the basketball team, and how it's affecting whether AMAC was going to stay or not, as far as him getting his payments or not getting his payments. And oh man, college basketball has just turned into a. There's an icky side to it that's. I think it was there before, but it's been a little bit more exposed of late. Yeah, and I don't feel that way about college football. I don't feel that way about other sports, and that may be completely naive of me, but
it does seem like the kind of the unseemly side of college sports has been with college basketball. That it's deeper with college basketball. Maybe it's more exposed with college basketball because there's fewer players. But this stuff with college basketball has been going on. I just think
there's more slimy parties involved in basketball and AAU basketball and all that, those kind of things.
And it's escalated over time. It's like this was allowed to happen and this was allowed to happen. Well, if we're doing this, we might as well do this. We're doing this, we might as well do this. We're doing this, we might as well do that. And then at the end of the day, now you've got what you've got, right?
Sure.
Could there be problems within the team? Sure, there's always going to be problems within the team, but you would love for it to stay within the team, whether it's on the coaching staff, the support staff, the players, but and who knows? Maybe they have addressed it internally. Maybe they are trying to fix it. It's not like you can have a press conference for everything that you have out there, but it will be incumbent upon them to fix it, and I guess we'll see by the type of play and who stays, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, does play improve? And look, you're not going to learn anything tomorrow against a team that's won one basketball game, but you will start.
If you lost, you would.
Yeah, I guess
if it's close, you surely would.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. Right, I guess so. That's a great point. If you have people that actually go into the portal and stay in the portal and leave the team, then that would tell you some things. If it hurts you from a recruiting standpoint, then that would tell you some things. So I mean, as you've said, I mean, you do have the right to get better. You do have the right to try to fix things. But yeah, it's not the best of looks right now, and I guess the only thing you can do at this point in time is win. Winning kind of cures all ills, right?
Yeah, that would quiet down people's fears.
Mm-hmm. Somebody says that $10 million facility may turn out to be the proverbial bridge to nowhere. I don't know.
The facility is built and it's beautiful and people love using it. That doesn't mean it's a bridge to nowhere.
Yeah.
The bridge to nowhere literally went nowhere.
Yeah. It's his business, but if it's leaking into the program, it has to stop. Yeah, that's right. It's been known for over a year, but didn't come out because we went on a deep tourney run. Yeah.
Yeah, the folks that are suggesting that this is Texas doing this, that's digging up this information. I mean, this has been known by a lot of people for a lot of time.
I think it's just a coincidence, don't you?
I think it has nothing to do with Texas.
Yeah, I think it's just a coincidence.
Yeah, I think that this. I mean, I think so much of this is coming out now because of. Well, why is AMAC leaving? And,
yeah.
Okay, so if he's a star player and he's leaving. Well, why did McCullough leave? Well, why did Shannon leave? And so you start questioning everything, and
whispering became more than a whisper. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it all happened at basically the same time.
Your morning blend of sports.
K-State is coming off a big win over Oklahoma. Of course, the Red Raiders off their 37-34 overtime win over number 22 Texas.
And humor.
Sure to tell them that. You suggested that. And of course, that got a big laugh.
This is the Morning Drive Podcast from Double T 97.3. Catch the show live weekdays from 6 to 9 on Double T 97.3 FM or on the Double T 97.3 mobile app. Jamie's question of the day on Double T 97.3 is presented by Bizarre Solutions. Call them today for a free cybersecurity audit.
All right. It's been a bizarre week, without a doubt, right?
Well, I mean, we did 5 shows. That bizarre is like our middle name, isn't it?
Yeah, but there's our bizarre, and there's what this week was.
I feel like the bizarre part is that our bizarre wasn't the most bizarre of the week.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not by any stretch of the imagination, but it's still pretty weird. All right, what's your question?
All right, I'm going to go to Red Raider football today because talking about Red Raider basketball right now just makes me sad. So my question for you today is what Red Raider in 2023 do you feel like football player-wise here? What player do you feel like will make a bigger jump and be a much bigger factor next year compared to what he was for the Red Raiders this year?
Wow. You got an answer for him there?
I got 2, but I feel like one of them's cheating, which is why I have 2.
Okay.
Baron Morton will be a much bigger factor for next year's team than he was this year. But I feel like that's cheating, so I'm going to go with a different player, Xavier White. He had lots of flashes, but also lots of disappearing acts. And now I granted at this time last year, I think I was saying the same thing, but I'm still very high on what he can bring your team. And maybe a consistent quarterback will be able to help that in Baron Morton next season.
Those are good answers. I had X-Man in my head, Xavier White. But now I need to come up with.
You can have the same answer.
No, I know. I like your Baron Morton thought too. Can I say maybe Loic Fungi?
You can say whatever you want.
Yeah, well, I know I can say whatever I want.
You can't say Donovan Smith.
How about my man Mason Tharp?
It was hard not to be above that. What happened last year?
Who knows? I mean, to me, that's as much about the coaching staff, deciding to go the route of using the tight ends more.
Yeah. It didn't necessarily work out. You could also say Tyler Shuck. You could, if you're going to say Baron Morton, you could say
he only played 6 games. That's
right.
fair.
Yeah. You could say him. Miles Price got 48 balls. Could he catch more?
I think you missed 3 other guys on the roster. You want to list them too?
No.
Well, I mentioned 2. But again, I really did feel like
we were into double digits with Chuck.
I'm going to say Xavier White. 42 catches, 561 yards is what he had last year. His longest was 50. I think he's got more to give you. especially on that, the return game, just everything that he can do. I think he's got more to give.
All right. You guys both said, as Chuck likes to call him, X. I'm going to go with my man X on. I said Cameron Valdez is going to have a much bigger a factor on the Red Raiders next year. I loved what we saw from him in his limited time, obviously because of the injury. But man, I thought he looked good.
Yeah.
With Sir Roderick moving on, I think he's a good complement to Taj, and it would be hard for him not to be a bigger factor than what he was. But
that's a really good answer.
Because he's only played in 3 games. But I think he's going to be I think you're going to see Valdez be something like, I don't know. I mean, over 500 yards on the ground and be good out of the backfield, catching the ball too. So I think he's just going to pick up right where Sir Roderick left off.
Yeah, I think that's a really, really good answer. He only played in 3 games, 17 rushes for a total of 140 net yards. His longest game, tied for the longest on the team with Bryson Donnell, both at 38 yards.
Interesting that we all went offense instead of a defensive player. Is that because we think the defense is just going to stand pat? Like we're not going to see a huge improvement because they don't need to improve as much?
It feels like the last 5 or 6 years we've had one linebacker really step up every year and be really good. Who's that guy going to be? Obviously, Merriweather was that guy this year. Who's that going to be this upcoming season? Who's that linebacker that's going to take that next step and be your big time guy at the linebacker position? Maybe it's Chuck's guy, Josiah Pierre.
Oh, maybe so.
We just don't use the linebackers like we did before, and part of that is because Tyree Wilson, who is linebacker / end.
He's not a linebacker. I don't know why he's listed as a linebacker. I mean, when was the dude ever standing up 3 yards from the line of scrimmage?
I don't disagree with you.
Ever? Was he, Chuck?
There might have been a play. That? He might have.
I'm sure he started his career at that spot, but he became an awesome rush end or an interior, run stuffer or rush the quarterback. I mean, I get that he's listed as a linebacker. He's not a linebacker.
Let me give you some linebackers here. I'm going to the roster so I can just kind of. You got Kosai Eldridge.
He's back?
No. He's not.
Okay.
He's a super senior. Never mind.
I was thinking he was gone. I thought Pierre had one more year.
Okay. He's Josiah Pierre. Let me see if I can get to him.
What about Tyreek Matthews?
He's on that list too.
To me, he's a guy maybe that could take a big step forward.
Okay. I'll go with you on that. I'll just stay with you on that.
Okay. What about Bryce Ramirez? Man, he was starting to play well for the Red Raiders when he wrecked his leg. I don't know what percentage he'll be back and all that kind of stuff.
I hope in the passing game next year the price is white. Bowl game coming out party. Somebody said this. I knew Chuck would say Tharp. Ha ha.
Hey, here's something interesting I just noticed.
Okay.
If you look at the bottom of the defensive stats, towards the bottom, Baylor Cupp, he had 2 unassisted tackles last year. If we're not going to use him at tight end, maybe we should move him over.
And
Taj Brooks also had 2.
Duran Bradley, 2, could be a guy that could really step up for you.
Yeah, hope so.
He was a guy that he had 11 games, 43 catches. He was second leader on that.
Getting your sports day started the right way. This is the Morning Drive Podcast from Double T 97.3, breaking down the biggest games.
If Texas Tech does not win the Big 12 football conference, who are you rooting for to win the conference if Tech does not win it this year?
Well, busting some chops along the way.
I hold back on sending you stuff. I mean, I'm very, very, very judicious.
We spend 3 hours a day, 5 days a week together. Why would we need to communicate during the weekends.
Right,
Save it for the show.
We do. We save it for the show.
Tune into the Morning Drive live weekdays from 6 to 9 on Lubbock Sports Station, Double T 97.3.
You ask for John Tesh, you get John Tesh. Had to go down the hall and ask if I could use it.
8:02 this morning here on the Morning Drive. This is John Tesh. I love John Tesh. 8:02, little John Tesh. He's the guy that did the Basketball Rock, for NBC. Da 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 da.
I've heard that rumor.
Yeah, I love it.
Every day on his show.
every day on his show. Well,
I used to love listening to his show because, he'd have interesting stuff during the breaks in music that were interesting tidbits.
Mm-hmm. He's a tidbit guy. He's a guy that spent some time with Oprah back in his youth. They were working at the same TV station in Baltimore, and it's a guy that probably I don't know how many years ago it was. It's more than 10. Came to Lubbock and did a concert. He was fabulous. He was, and I think I'm sure I've shared this story before, but he's a guy that, we have a lot of people that come by the radio station and back in the day, the TV station, people that, famous and infamous and newsmakers and celebrities. But I've never seen a building just kind of go, I've seen it twice, where a building just kind of went upside down over a guy that I didn't think would go upside down over. One was Davy Jones from the Monkees. That was in Kansas City. And he just came by the radio station. He was going to be on somebody's show. And, everybody was swooning. I say everybody. The women were swooning. And then John Tesh crossed all the circles. And I can't tell you how many pictures I took of people with John Tesh. And finally he said to me, he said, "Chuck, do you want to get a picture?" I'm like, "No, John, I'm good." Now, if Connie had come with you, then yeah, I would have wanted a picture with her, but not. I'm good with you. So, I was just making a joke with him. It's just his wife. I was not trying to do anything, but just I was just trying to make
Boris Becker.
Right. Anyway. I just thought, but I've always enjoyed his stuff, his show. All right. Let's see. 8:01 this morning on the Morning Drive. We got basketball tomorrow, thank God. You know what? I think it's really good. I think it's really good our basketball team's playing out of town this weekend. Don't you? I mean, it's kind of one of those times where maybe it's good for these guys to get out of town. Maybe that will help them kind of bond and grow. And even though they spent a lot of time in Hawaii together, and it's not their first. I guess maybe it's one of their first kind of road trips out of town this year. Just an in and out kind of deal. But maybe this is a good time to go take a road trip.
Yeah, maybe so. I think you're making sense, and team being able to bond together. Mm-hmm. Do they at this point know who all their teammates are?
I'm presumably okay.
Okay. Do you think the program knows? Yes, he's here. Or no, he's not going to be here.
Fardaws Amac?
Yes.
Yes, I think they know that.
Okay. So you expect him to be part of the roster?
I do. At this point, I do. Now, is he going to play this year? I don't know. Because I don't know. Because you reach a certain point in time in the season. Okay, so let's just say he has a setback, all right, and can't play until mid to late February. And if you're not playing very well, then you might as well bring him back next year.
Yeah, that would make no sense for him to come back.
Yeah,
mid to late February. But there's a long time between now and mid to late February.
Okay, so let's just say how about late January?
Do you feel there's a setback?
No, I don't know. I'm just saying if. I'm just saying if.
Okay. If he's ready by, the start of conference play or maybe the first week of January, to me it's a no-brainer that he plays.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you're gonna need him.
Do you think to improve on his resume, he needed a matchup with Nichols to show off his skills?
Who? Fardaws Amac?
Yeah.
No,
I don't think so.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Do you think he's going to miss out on that matchup with A&M Corpus Christi early in the year?
No.
Yeah, me neither.
No. But, if he was injured, I mean, his foot's been in a cast, and now was in a boot the other night. Looked like the cast. The cast, I think, has been removed. But maybe it's, sometimes, Jamie, we find out too much about people and they're like, ooh, when we probably should have just been keeping our mouths shut, right?
This is why I don't tell personal stories on the morning drive.
I'm certainly guilty of that too. I'm certainly guilty of oversharing. Okay?
You have most definitely shared some things with us that make us scratch our heads.
Right? No, I got it. Yeah. And there's some.
Jeff, can you believe Chuck was just saying that?
There's some times when I feel like. I probably shouldn't have said that. I was like, I may get a question mark from my wife.
The problem
really?
with Chuck, and he has said this on multiple occasions, is sometimes he forgets it's just not you and I here.
Right, I do forget that.
I don't know though, man. Even there's stuff he shared with us that I wouldn't think he would share with just us.
And yet, here's the deal. Here's the deal. There's stuff I haven't shared with you. Okay. There are stuff that I haven't shared with you.
Thank you, Chuck Hines.
Somebody says this, wait, Fardaws is back on the team. Look, I don't think there's going to be a press release, but he's on the roster. Okay, if he wasn't on the team, they would have him. I mean, they have a social media person over there. They have a person that can take people in and out of the roster at any point in time. Last I checked, he was on the roster, and I checked this morning. So,
can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
What in the world do you think happened?
I think somebody thought that maybe they were either A, more important than they are, or B, had somebody whisper in their ear that they could make more money going to play for them, but they had to get into the transfer portal first. And then they threw that out there, and then the person that was either going to, or team that was going to provide that said, well, how's your foot doing? Or maybe there were some promises made here that he didn't understand how the whole deal was going to go down, and now that has been fulfilled, or maybe there was something that hadn't been fulfilled that has been fulfilled. I don't know, but my guess is somebody's whispering in his head that, hey, you can make more over here if you go over here, and then when he investigated that and shot his mouth off, that it didn't turn out to be that case. Or it could be something that somebody else leaked something on his behalf that he didn't know. I have no idea. My guess is he thought the pasture was greener over there and learned that it wasn't. And I thought, I made a mistake. Can I come back? Hey, you're almost 7 foot. We could use you. Yeah, you can come back.
You've been listening to the Morning Drive podcast from Double T 97.3. For more from Lubbock Sports Station, go to doublet973.com.